Yes. Good afternoon, Professor Vũ Đăng Lưu and Professor Võ Tấn Đức and distinguished colleagues. My name is Hoàng Văn Hưởng. I work at the Việt Nam National Children's Hospital. It is an honor for me to be here today and to share with you our experience to trace a vein of Galen malformation. And based on the clinical analysis, the 17 clinical cases at the Việt Nam National Children's Hospital, let me begin my presentation. As you know, the vein of Galen malformation is or VGAM is a rare and a complex congenital cerebrovascular disorder. It's account for 1% of all cerebrovascular malformation, but it's up to 30% of the major vascular malformation in the pediatric, and the making is a challenging in the cortical. I'm so sorry. And making it challenging for the pediatric and fetal care. And you know that the vein of Galen malformation is not a true AVM, but a primary arterial fistula. It results from the embolic persistence of the medial prosencephalic vein of Markovsky, and is from a direct connection between a high pressure arterial and the deep venous system bypass the capillary bed. And the clinical consequences are varied by age. In a neonatal patient, usually presented with a heartache or pulmonary hypertension, whereas in older children, usually presented with a macrocephaly or the psychomotor delay. And some cases, the condition were detected incidentally. And the primary objective of our study include three parts. The first, to describe the clinical and angioarchitectural characteristics, and second, to analyze the interventional strategy and embolic material angiography outcome, and finally, to evaluate the clinical outcome and safety profile of endovascular treatment. And let's move on to the first outpass. And 17 patients were enrolled in our study during the 5-year period from the 2019 to the 2024, with a slight mild prominence of the 59%. A key feature of our cohort with the 53% of cases identified via the fetal imaging. This reflects the progress in the prenatal diagnosis and allow us to prepare an intervention more effectively and on time. And we look at the clinical symptom of the presentation, and there are 41% of the patient with a systematic patient. And among those presentation, cardiac failure or pulmonary hypertension was the most common, accounted in the 17.6% of cases. And other initial presentation include macrocephaly and the macrocephaly associated with the prognosis. And we use a classification Longitudinal to the satisfy and the management. And as you can see, the Moore type was the most common in the nearly 65% of the cases. And another type, Moore corridor type, was seen in about 23.5% of cases. This distribution is notable, and as you know, the Moore type are general associated with a better prognosis. And now we turn to our interventional strategy and the results we achieved. You know that the endovascular intervention is the first line treatment event of Galen malformation. And our principle is the straight and the plain occlusion of the arterial venous shunt. Is not aggressive or the single session curable. And the goal is to gradually reduce the hemodynamic disturbance and allow the neurovascular system to adapt and promoting a normal neurological development. And we follow the multiple modal approach, and based on the anatomy of each lesion. And as you can see in the chart, the coil was most commonly in the more than 70% of cases. And over half of cases were due to the NBCA. This reflects the flexible and tailored to our strategy was. And let's move on to the angiographic outcomes treatment. We achieved greater than the 75% occlusion in the 59% of our treatment patients, with the 35% achieving a completely occlusion. This demonstrates the effective of angiographic control of the malformation. And our results of the 59% achieve a significant occlusion aligned with the major international benchmark. And as you can see, the done study and covering over 667 patients and reported a completely occurrent rate of the 57%. And our result reflects the successful application of the modal and multimodal embolization technique. And we move on to clinical outcome and safety. And our findings are reported with a previous outpost. Our series show a flavor safety profile with the 76.5% of the patients experience no post-procedure complication. This compares well with the literature. The meta-analysis by the several and found the overall procedure complication rate of the 25% of the cases. This reflects the challenging nature of the Van of Galen procedure and their dependence on the operator experience. And the overall mortality in our cohorts were 5.9%. This is significantly lower rate reported in the major, and Benjamin reported the 14% mortality rate. And systemic review reported ranging from 12 to the 16%, particularly in the cohort with a high proportion of the neonate and presenting with severe cardiac failure or hypertension pulmonary. And I wanted to introduce the interested case we assisted in our hospital when she was 4 days old. The patient was diagnosed with a Van of Galen malformation in the third trimester of pregnancy. And she presented with heart failure and pulmonary hypertension. Her BSS score was 10. That the indicators for the emergency embolization. And as you can see, the chest X-ray and show that enlargement, the cardiac cluster. And on the brain MRI, and show that a normal myelination for it. And this is a terrible angiography, and it demonstrates that there was a typical multi with a multiple arterial feeder from the left ACA and the left PCA. And moreover, these feeders are associated with a steer phenomenon affecting the cerebral parenchyma. And we decided to coil to emboli of high flow aviation, and post-procedure cerebral angiograms so that there wasn't a steer phenomenon, but there was still aviation. And 6 months later, chest X-ray became to be normal, and there was residual aviation and remarkable decrease of size of the Van of Galen. We have adjusted with the coil. And 3 years later, the patient came to our hospital with a normal development, and the CT and the angiography so that completely eradicated the aviation and without any treatment. I have some take-home message. Endovascular intervention is the primary and safe and effective treatment for vein of Galen malformation, and the optimal outcome depends on a comprehensive and multiple disciplinary strategy that are tailored to each lesion. Thank you for the attention. I'm so happy to receive any question.